Hey guys.
Hi, Melody.
Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Melody.
They're hopping on, Kathy, okay?
What did you say?
They're hopping on.
All right.
Sarah, I want that dog.
That is a cute dog, Sarah.
Cute dog.
Why can't I see people's faces?
Kathy would like to see your faces, please.
Please.
Oh, no.
Hey, Chantrell.
Hello.
We're going to talk about farming today.
Awesome.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Kathy.
Nikki. Okay, who wants to share? Hey, Courtney, who wants to share? Who wants to share what they did in the last 24 hours that was fabulous in lead generation? Just one thing. What did you do that was good?
I called the referral that I received from another consultant in Houston. It's a new buyer, but she's not ready until close to the end of the year. But I still called her and sent information.
Okay, and you know what? Like when you think about the end of the year, it will be here before you know it. So you're going to keep in touch with her, right, Nikki? Nikita?
Absolutely.
You go by Nikki? Right. You go by Nikki, don't you? Do you?
I
okay.
do.
Okay, that's what I thought. Well, that's awesome. And so, how did you get that referral?
It was one of the girls. To be honest with you, we've been friends since I was in my teens, and I learned that she was working with Keller Williams a few years ago, and then I got into it, and she's in Texas, and she emailed me and said, hey, I got a referral for you. And I was like, awesome, thank you.
That is awesome. So, I mean, that you have this relationship from years ago, and y'all have something in common, and because of that, you're going to get a transaction, and you get to pay her money. I love paying referral fees. I love that. When somebody thinks enough of me to send me a referral, I am happy to pay that referral fee. It's just, it's fabulous, a fabulous feeling. Helping somebody else out, just them making a phone call and they make, let's say, $2,500. That's fabulous. Anybody else want to share an aha from any lead generation the last 24 hours? One thing that made you go, oh, wow, that was great.
I think what my wife and I can say is more like marketing, actually, Kathy. But, we were really thrilled about hitting that the top 20 agents or such for January. So we put it on Facebook just to celebrate our clients. We got, I think, more than 100 likes, and then what was it, Marinelli, like 50 or 60 like comments throughout, underneath.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I think people are just doing happy faces and congratulations and all. So that was just I think a great way to kind of just celebrate what we are doing for others, and then so I think it was a nice way to kind of like get something out there just to just to share.
Yep. So when you're recognized, do something like that. People like to know that the real estate agents that they're working with and they're entrusting their friends or their family members to, will take good care of them. And by being in that percent, or what did you say it was?
I think we're in the top. Yeah, they're top 20 listed. So headshot with the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So share that. People love to know that the people that they're in business with are taking good care of lots of people. So that makes a big impact on people. Use that. And no matter what it is, you can even talk about your company and how much, like yesterday, we were talking about on the Chart Masters with Leslie and Andy, and that Keller Williams has a 20% of the Atlanta market share. and that the four people under them, the four companies under them, not people, but the four companies under them equal what we have. So it takes four companies to equal what we have. That's
wow.
huge. That's huge.
Wow.
Okay, so we're talking about marketing today. And I'll be honest with y'all, the first time I heard about marketing back in 2007, we're talking about farming today. And the first time I heard about farming back in 2007 at Keller Williams in Canton, Georgia, I was like, farming? I'm not in farming, I'm in real estate. I really, when they said that, it was a foreign term to me. And I thought, what in the world is that? Farming neighborhoods? What does that mean? So there are lots of ways to farm for real estate business. And I'll be honest with y'all, I don't farm a neighborhood. And my neighborhood is large. There are 3 streets. There's my street and 2 other streets that I kind of keep in touch with those people. I know who they are. And I play up to them. But the neighborhood is so big, I'm not going to farm this neighborhood. I honestly, I'm all about relationships. We talked about this yesterday in relationships. I don't have time to have all of those people to be farming to. I break my farm, I break my little acreage down into smaller acres. So my farm in my neighborhood it's not something I really focus on as a farm. I just like to keep in touch with these people. But in essence, that is farming. So there are different ways. There are different ways to focus on farming. There are 3 questions to target your farm. There's where do they live? Who are they? And what do they like to do? Do any of y'all like focus on a certain neighborhood or like if you live in Midtown, do you focus on a building that you like that you live in, or you can focus on what people like Atlanta United fans. They're crazy fans and they like to get together. And if you're an Atlanta United fan and you get together before games with people, that's a huge farm. So it's where do they live? Who are they? And what do they like? What do they like to do? Do any of y'all focus on anything like that?
No, I'm still trying to focus on this outside of my subdivision. Should I farm? So I'm still looking for an area to plant seeds.
Okay, so that is what is farming. So there's geographic farming. Where do they live? Mm-hmm. There's demographic farming. Who are they? And there's psychographic farming. What do they like? So demographic farming, where do they live? That's like, you could break it down to counties, cities, subdivisions, neighborhoods, because there are a lot of big neighborhoods that are a lot of big subdivisions that there are different neighborhoods in each subdivision, or you can break it down to streets like I do. I have my street and then 2 other streets that I like to keep in touch with those people. And my street is the longest of the streets. There's 27 houses on my street. On another street, there are 12 houses. And then another street, there are 13 houses. So I'm happy breaking it down into those small areas. So you got to figure out what it is that is important to you and where you can benefit, where you'll benefit and your clients will benefit. So like I said, neighborhoods, demographics, geographics, and psychographics. So we're going to break that down a little more. So investors, there are investors who focus on neighborhoods. there, you might work with an investor and he wants to be in a specific neighborhood, or a specific high school district. Do any of y'all work with an investor? Courtney, she's nodding her head. Do you work with any investors, Courtney?
I do, yes.
Okay, so do they like a certain neighborhood or a certain high school district?
They more so like, I guess by neighborhood, they like certain zip codes.
Okay,
You know, so like right now we're doing a lot of investing like where the belt line is, because those houses, you know, a lot of them need to be rehabbed and they can put a long-term tenant in, they can Airbnb it. There's a lot of different exit strategies and options. So we're looking there now.
okay, that's great. And so are you as their agent focusing on finding them like off-market listings or in? Okay,
Yes, I do try to. It's very time consuming, so I'm trying to. That's why I'm on here now to see like other ways maybe I'm not thinking about that I can do that. But I'm on a lot of different wholesale lists. But then of course, you know, if you're on one wholesale list, you get the same house a couple of different times. So I need to come up with another strategy to get these houses that may not be on that wholesale list, so that there's not all this competition for them.
yes, and that's what finding off-market listings and talking to the neighbors in those neighborhoods. So that's we're going to focus on. We'll talk about that later. So you're geographic farming because you're looking for certain areas. Anybody else? Scott? Anybody else do any like want to focus on any kind of farming, like certain neighborhoods, certain areas, certain people, like what people like? I just want to know how y'all want me to focus this today, because I want it.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, say that again.
I want to focus on. I wanted to focus on like people that are downsizing.
Downsizing. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, so do you know how you're going to do that?
No idea. I'm trying to find out because I'm saying to myself, if I'm focusing on folks downsizing, where do they actually live? And I know most of the time their kids are maybe trying to put them in smaller houses or maybe the living facilities where they're not even in their homes anymore. So I'm not really sure.
Okay, so you know that so that that would be a demographic farming area, and what you can do is go in Remine and find out like pick out a neighborhood and go in and look at those neighborhoods and see who's been in houses. Remine is a wealth of information for you. You can go in and find out how long they've been in the home, what kind of equity they have in the home. And like somebody reached out to me recently via text saying, hey, are y'all interested in downsizing? Would like to make an offer on your home. And I said, so tell me what you know about me. And this agent said, well, we know you've been in your home since 2006. We know that you have this much equity in your home, and we'd like to make you an offer for this. So they knew what we owed. They knew what the equity was. And I just shot back at them with like $135,000 more than what they were, you know, what they were saying they would pay for our house. And it's like, so they're a real estate agent. They're doing what we are doing. They're out there farming my neighborhood because they know, like we have 6 bedrooms in my home. It's just my husband and me, but we have 4 children and we have 3 grandchildren right now. And to us, it's important that we have a place for all of our children to come. We thought about downsizing. There are people thinking about downsizing. So what you can do is get in Remine and look at certain neighborhoods. Go through there and it will tell you how long they've been in their home, what kind of equity they have in their home. And a lot of times it gives you the phone number. Robin Taylor told me today that yesterday I shared fastpeoplesearch.com is a great way to get information. Now, she texted me today and said, hey, I'm getting, hold on, let me tell you exactly what it said, access was denied. So That happened to me one day last week. I didn't change servers or anything. I just got, I got in, it said access is denied. We're protecting our information. And so I don't know if they've been, somebody's attacked them recently or not. But so I got back in Fast People Search and I said, I can get in it now. It was one day. So if fastpeoplesearch.com gives you an access denied, report, error message or whatever, get back in it, just keep trying to get back in it on the same, Chrome or whatever you're on. Just keep trying to get back in. But that Fast People Search will give you a lot of information, but Remind will give you a lot of information also. And it usually gives you phone numbers. And I think that's where that person that contacted me saying, hey, interested in selling your house, for this amount of money, which I know it's worth. So that's what you can focus on, Nikki, is Fast People Search. Stick to a neighborhood and go in there and look. You can find so much information about them. Like if they've been in their house over 7-10 years, they're probably empty nesters. And it will tell you in Fast People Search, it will tell you the age of the people in there. I removed me from Fast People Search. You can remove yourself, but most people don't know about Fast People Search. It will tell you how old if they're 60 years old, if they're 55 years old or older, they probably don't have any kids at home or their last kids are getting ready to leave. That is where you can focus, Nikki. Anybody else while we're still on this about areas to farm this?
Well,
Kathy,
Kathy,
how do you find investors?
Chantrell, I honestly can't answer that question. I have never worked with investors. I really have not. Nikki, how did you get your investors? Oh, it was Courtney. How did you get your investors?
Mine are just people that I know who are looking to just expand their portfolio. But Chantal, what you can do is join some Facebook REI groups, and there's a ton of investors in there, a ton, like more than you'll even have time to even.
And what's the name of it again?
It's some REI groups, real estate investors. So there's a ton of different Facebook groups that you can join for free. Let them know that you're an agent. You specialize in XYZ area. And if there's any investors looking in that area, you're happy to help. Just you have to put yourself out there.
Right.
That is fabulous information. So Chantrell, if you'll go to Facebook and then just do a search for Real Estate Investors Atlanta, REI Atlanta.
And then there is an REIA group, which is Real Estate Investors of Atlanta, that you can do as well.
Yeah. And just send a message to people on that in that group and see what kind of relationship you can propagate. We're talking about farming. What kind of relationship you can grow in that?
A ton of cash.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Scott, you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say on the sources for the phone numbers, in Remind, I'll pull up a neighborhood near me and maybe there's 100 houses in there and there might be 30 that have phone numbers.
Right.
If you use the Forewarn app and you've got their name, not only do you get the number, you might get 5 phone numbers that have been associated with them.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got the Forewarn app on my phone and I did not know you could use it that way. I just thought it was, for me to be forewarned about any crazy person calling me to see a vacant listing or something.
Yeah, so it'll say search by phone number, but you can also search by person. I don't know if you can see that, it's backwards actually, but you fill in as much information as you can. And when you click on that, it'll tell you their age, if it knows it. It'll have a property history, meaning if they've bought 4 houses over the last 10 years, it'll have all 4 of those addresses listed. It'll have the amount that was paid. It'll also show you if they have liens against them or liens that have been cleared up. I actually used it one time because there was somebody interested in talking to me about selling their home. and it has a criminal history on there. I clicked on it, and the guy looked like he was about to go to jail for messing around with little kids. So I did not use him as somebody I was going to be in business with. But
Yeah.
I did go through this neighborhood now. I talked to someone. He's 68 years old. He's retired. He's ready to move out of this neighborhood. And there's 75 homes there. It's over in Kennesaw. And I thought to myself, well, let's see how many people in that neighborhood are sort of in that range. And the first 20 that I've pulled up, 66, 58, 59, 69, 59. So I'm actually going to go door to door and say, look, let's, not so much that I'm saying, hey, look, you're of a certain age and it's time for you to move on. It's,
Are you thinking about, are you thinking about it? Because a lot of them are thinking, we thought about it when our son graduated in 2017. We thought about selling our house and moving closer to my mother-in-law inside the perimeter. But then when it didn't make sense to us because what we could get there at that time, 3.5 years ago, was so much less than what we have now. And we always want our children to have a place to come. We want them to come to their house, their room. So it didn't make sense for us. But a lot of people, it makes sense. They don't want their kids coming home. I'm serious, they don't. So that is fabulous. And y'all, forewarn, it is an app. It does cost money, but if you email, is it Erin Putnam? If you email Erin, she'll give you the information you need to download that app for free and for us to be able to use it.
Yeah, I get billed through my office bill $12 a month for it. And I tell you, the return on investment there is huge.
Yeah, because it's $25 or $24.99 a month if you don't have somebody else. And that $12.99 a month makes a huge difference. And I mean, it's a write-off. It's a business expense. So thank you very much, Scott, because I don't use it that way. And I mean, that's like reverse prospecting in FMLS.
Yeah.
That's great.
And what it's allowed me to do is go through and instead of having 20% or 30% of the phone numbers in a neighborhood, I can get 80% or more. Now, a couple of those numbers might be dead numbers, whatever, but it's much higher level info or much more detailed info than I could get just in research.
Right.
So
And
together, they're a good tool.
So the Fast People Search, which I was talking about earlier, it's free, but they'll give you usually 4 to 5 numbers. And then the one that they are most confident in being answered is always in bold. And it's the top number. And they'll tell you whether it's a landline or a cellular phone. But that forewarn sounds like it's has a lot more detail than Fast People Search. So to me, $12.99 a month is a better investment than what I'm doing, because I do spend a lot of time. I get a lot of information, but I do spend a lot of time dialing those numbers. So, okay, so farming is a grassroots. What?
I'm sorry. How do you get signed up for the forewarned? It says that only people with the username and password can get in.
So email Erin Putnam. She's our market center administrator. And she'll give you the code that gives you the coupon to use to get the $12.99 a month versus I think it's $24.99 or $29.99. I can't remember, but it's a huge savings for us. So, and all you have to do is email Erin and she'll give it to you. Okay. So farming is a grassroots approach to real estate. Although it may take a lot of time, you will find the momentum and it will build upon itself. You just have to keep up with it. And so that, you got to narrow down where you want to be. If it's a neighborhood, if it's a group of people from church, or if you have kids in soccer, football, lacrosse, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and you want to drill into what their interests are, you just got to figure out what is the most important to you. Like if your relationships with people in those areas like your kids' activities, the booster clubs, whatever, figure out what is most important to you. And when you're farming a neighborhood, I farmed this little neighborhood in Crabapple years ago. It was so weird how I got into this neighborhood. It's right there on, it's Rucker Road before Crabapple, and it was Crabapple Crossing. That was the name of the neighborhood. And these people started buying these homes in 2005, 2006 for $500,000 or more, $600,000. And then in 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, when the market had tanked, they lost jobs. They had job changes and they had to, take a pay cut. I had one listing in there and I was working the opportunity desk when this person called in one day. And I went and looked at her house, and we knew we were going to have to do a short sale. Her husband had lost his job. He had a great job. He lost his job. So we knew it was going to be a short sale. There was no way we could sell the house for what they owed on the house. It took from the day we listed it to the day it closed was 1 year. And so it closed on a Friday. And on Saturday, I got a call from the neighbor across the side street. They both faced Rucker Road. Across the side street, she said, "Hey, we need to sell our house and it's going to be a short sale. And I know you just helped Tom and Darla. Can you help us?" And I said, "I'm sure I can." So I went to their house on Tuesday. We put the house on the market on Monday. We got an offer on Monday night. Ding dong. This was fabulous because it took like 8 months to get the first house under contract. The second house, it was 1 day. It was a short sale and that took a long time, but I built that relationships with people in that neighborhood. Over the next 3 years, I sold the majority of houses in that neighborhood. And it finally worked out where they weren't short sales. It was so fabulous that they were no longer short sales. But on Thursday nights, I would go to that neighborhood and I would walk around it and talk to people. It was not a big neighborhood, but I would walk around and talk to people. And they knew me and I knew them. I lived 15 minutes from there, but it was between my house and the office, and I could go by there all of the time. But on Thursday nights, I would go by and I would walk through the neighborhood and built a lot of relationships doing that. So truly, I was not thinking then that it was farming a neighborhood. I was just making friends. To me, I was making friends. And that's important, building relationships. We talked about that yesterday, working with Mets, and it's all you don't get, people just don't fall into you all of the time. You've got to build these relationships with people, and they want that. You want to be friends with people, don't you? People want to be friends with you. So that's what you have got to do. In neighborhoods, walk the neighborhoods, meet the people. If you're walking a neighborhood, take just a little piece of information on that neighborhood and how many houses have gone under contract or come on the market, gone under contract, the days on the market. Days on market is huge to people. So when you're farming to that neighborhood, the days on the market and the average sales price, that's huge. People love to know that information. That will snag them, and then you can get in their house and make their dreams come true. But if you'll if you're doing a neighborhood, focus on the days on the market and the average sales price. That is so important to people because they don't want to put their house on the market, be overpriced, and be on the market for a month, with 60 showings. They want to be, I'm sorry, I needed to check something because I have a listing that hit the market today. The first showing was at 2:00 and my seller was putting the new key, because he got a new doorknob and was putting the new key in. But he was playing with it first, and he closed the box up before he put the key in it. And I just wanted to make sure, that the person that was showing it at 2:00 got in there. I guess they haven't had a problem. My phone's been going ding, ding, ding. It's a $230,000 listing. People are like sending me offers before they have even seen it. You know, it's that price range. Okay. Okay, so we've been talking mostly about geographic farming neighborhoods. Anybody have a question they want to ask me about geographic farming? Okay. One of the things I do want to point out, so y'all have received the handbook, this section for this class. It's fabulous. It's loaded with information. I have to kind of condense everything to get it in there for y'all during this time period. But one of the myths they shared, and it's so important, this myth, you can stop and start farming efforts as needed. But the truth is, you must pursue your farm consistently and persistently. Like that little neighborhood in Crabapple, I farmed it persistently, but in my head, I wasn't farming. I was just out visiting with people. They were sitting on their front porches, having a lemonade, having a beer, having a glass of wine, whatever. I was out there and, making contact with them. They knew who I was. They called me. They saw my sign. It was like, I would get a listing. It would go on a contract. It would close. I would get a listing. It would go on a contract. It would close. It took a year, but then I got a lot of business after that first year. You have to persistently reach out to those people. And if you don't, they're going to forget you. They forgot me. I quit farming it. I haven't sold a house in there in 6 years because I quit farming that area. I started farming my people instead of that neighborhood, which is another, you can farm your people. You can farm your Mets, your contacts. That's really what I do. But I quit farming that neighborhood, and my business in that neighborhood went away. It really did. So you got to figure out your farm. You've got to figure out, you don't want to focus on a neighborhood that's, when you create your goals and how many houses you want to sell a year and your average listing price, you gotta think about that when you're picking out your farm area, your neighborhood that you want to farm, because if you're basing it on $10,000 per transaction, but you're in a neighborhood that's $200,000 per transaction, a $200,000 list price per transaction, that's not going to line up with your goals. So you need to focus on a neighborhood that's going to line up with your goals. Does that make sense? Anybody have a question about that? Yeah. So if you want to sell 24 houses a year and make $10,000 on each of them, then you don't need to be farming $150,000 or really even a $200,000 neighborhood. You need to know your numbers. So you need to know your goals, your budget, your time and money that you're going to spend on them, the size of your geographic farm, the size of your neighborhood. Like if you have a neighborhood that you're farming that only has 30 houses in it, those 30 houses aren't going to get you what you need. In a neighborhood of 30 houses, 3 or 4 are going to turn over a year. So you're not going to make your goals on that one neighborhood. If that's what you're focusing on, you need to focus on another neighborhood. So you need to focus, like I said, on the average sales price, the turnover rate, which is in a 30 a neighborhood with 30 houses in it. That would just be a little cul-de-sac road with an offshoot road. That would be, 3 to 4 houses a year. That's not going to fulfill your financial needs with that neighborhood. Focus on bigger neighborhoods. Will there be enough business in that neighborhood to achieve your goals? Not in a 30 house neighborhood. It's not going to be. So be realistic in setting your goals. When you're choosing the size of the farm, you need to keep in mind your lead generation goals and then begin implementing proven techniques for turning these people, these haven't mets, into mets. So you've got to, yesterday we were talking about implementing the 8x8, 8 contacts within 8 weeks. In a haven't met situation in a neighborhood, I would be compressing that 8x8 into 8 contacts within 4 weeks. I would be contacting them 2 times a week. Handwritten note, phone call, text with information about the market in their neighborhood, phone call. So every week they're getting something from me and a phone call. You have to compress it. You've got to hit them hard at first. So your 8x8 can be compressed into 8x4. And I find doing that really is beneficial. It really is. So back to geographic farming. A key to building your geographic farm is to select an area that is an easy fit for you to get to on a regular basis. If like the Crabapple Crossing, it was between my house and the office. And the first house I had listed in there, she was a school teacher. She had a 13-year-old daughter. Her husband had gotten another lower paying job where he had to travel a lot. Y'all, I went to that house so many times. We would have an unexpected showing. I would go to that house, run through it, put dishes in the dishwasher, pick up the daughter's clothes, throw them under the bed or whatever. And that's what I did. And it worked. It helped me get that house sold.
Hudson FaceTime video.
Oh, my son is calling me. Today's his birthday. He's FaceTiming me. Here, Carrie, will you? So it's got to be close to you. It's got to be convenient for you to get to. It's got to be convenient for you to be a part of, to walk through, to get to know the neighbors. And they want to see you. It's real funny. The neighborhood that I live in, the agent who is the predominant agent in this neighborhood and who owns this neighborhood, she used to work for the builder. So she has a lot of, I knew her before I knew anybody else in this neighborhood because she represented the builder. But there are people who don't like her because she has this big billboard outside of our neighborhood. And she says, #1 agent in this zip code. But there are people in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods, like I have clients who live in other neighborhoods around me who said they don't like her because they only know her bragging about herself on a billboard. So to a lot of people, their agent being on a billboard is a big thing. Would you agree? Billboards serve 2 purposes. That's my agent. And then there are people who go, I don't like her. I don't like him. She's bragging. He's bragging. So it's really funny. You've got to build relationships. A billboard doesn't build a relationship, but you build a relationship. So that is hugely important. You can market, you can send them stuff all the time, but unless you have a one-on-one conversation via phone, FaceTime, if they want to, or just knocking on their door and saying, hey, I'm Scott. I live in the neighborhood, or I live in the neighborhood next door. I've been here 14 years. My kids have gone to school here. I'm in real estate. And if there's ever anything I can do for you or answer any questions or provide you with vendors, I would love to. And then, give them a item of value, give them a little market information, have something to hand to people. I love when people knock on my door. I really do. And there's a Keller Williams agent in the Alpharetta office who used to live in this area, and he was knocking on our doors one day on our street. And before he even got to our street, I had like 7 text messages. Hey, this guy is on our street. He doesn't know that you live here and you're our agent. I'm like, thank you very much. So when the doorbell rang and I went to the door and said, hello, Jim, he's like, hey, I didn't know you lived here. I said, yeah, I live here. I've lived here for 14 years. And I've heard you were coming down the street by 7 other neighbors. It's funny when you have a relationship with people, they are going to look out for you. They really are. So it's all about building the relationship. So think of ways that you can build relationships with people, that you can provide information for them. If they have kids, take them, something that kids are going to like, cookies or a gift card to go see a movie or to get something, to download a movie that they want. Because now you can download movies, you can stream movies instead of going to a movie theater. That could be something you do. But you don't have to do it for everybody. Just focus on a couple of different people every month, and you're going to build a relationship with them. And they're going to protect you. They really are. There's somebody that lives on my street who, when they moved here 9 years ago, they moved in on a Friday night. They finished like at 12 o'clock at night. On Saturday morning, I was there with it was right before Halloween. I was there with a pumpkin saying, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's my information. If I can give y'all any information, doctors, dentists, whatever, let me know. She has, so her oldest daughter is in the 10th grade. My youngest child turned 22 today. We have nothing in common because of our children do not have anything in common. But I welcomed her to the neighborhood. And you can welcome somebody to the neighborhood that doesn't live in your neighborhood. You really can. But I welcomed her to the neighborhood, and I solidified a relationship with her. One of her very best friends is a Berkshire Hathaway agent. Their daughters are best friends, but I am her real estate agent. And she has, she will tell her other friend, Kathy's my real estate agent. Her husband calls me the mayor of our street because I have, over the years, I've established relationships with people, and that is so important to people. They're going to have your back. When you commit to a relationship, they're going to have your back. Okay, so we've talked about the relationships, the average sales price, the size of the neighborhood. Is this neighborhood going to sustain your goals for the year, or are you going to have to do something else? And that's something you've got to look at. So when you find what, Nikki?
So what if there's a neighborhood that you're interested in and it says no soliciting?
Okay, so this is what I would do. You can get around that. So what I would do first is call those people. And the people that you get on the phone, send a handwritten note to. And then the third time, go knock on their door. So you've already established this relationship with somebody. So even if it's the fourth time you reach out to them, a phone call, a handwritten note, a text, knock on their door and say, hey, I'm Nikki with Keller Williams. We talked this day. I sent you this, but you need to get in front of their face sometime. So when you've already reached out to them that way, you're not knocking on the door trying to sell something. You're providing them a service. Like, that's when you say, hey, look what's going on in your neighborhood. You're not knocking on the door trying to sell a house. You're just knocking on the door, providing them information. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Okay, so I've jumped over. So we talked about geographics, and now let's talk about demographics. So if there's if your demographics, if you're a member of a church, and the people in your church are important to you and they live in the area, you can farm that church. If you're in a Sunday school class, reach out to people about your business. Let them know that you're there, that you have vendors you'd love to supply them with. You can go about it a bunch of different ways. But, if you're going to farm a demographic, there's a bunch of things to look at, like churches. Cynthia Bourgeois, most of her business is with Hispanics, and they're first-time home buyers in the United States. She does a lot of business in that area, and she, because she speaks Spanish and English, she has a very good business because of the people that she her demographic farm. So it's, you really need to have something. When you farm demographically, you need to have something in common with those people. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. So, there are people who farm, like we were talking about earlier, Nikki, demographics. A demographic could overlap a geographic farm. Like in my neighborhood was established 22 years ago. So there are people that have been here for 22 years that, raised a family in their house, and maybe they're thinking of downsizing. There's a 55 and older community. And I know several people who have moved from just the regular neighborhood to the 55 and older community. So your circles, your farming circles can overlap demographically and geographically. So and psychographically. But so Generation Xers, I don't know if y'all have seen all this information lately about Gen Xers are going to be the hot market in the next 2 years. So if you have a relationship, like Scott, how old is Ethan? I can't hear you.
He's 20. He'll be 21 in April.
Okay. So that's a Gen Xer, right? Xer.
I guess so, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Because my youngest son, we have 3 daughters, and then we have the 22-year-old today. He's a Gen Xer, and they are going to be, in the next 2 years, they are going to be a substantial part of the real estate market. So if you have children, like Ethan, he probably knows a lot of people going to be graduating from college, getting their degrees, going to get their first job. They're going to be wanting to buy a house, where people that young didn't used to want to buy a house. They waited until their late 20s to buy a house. So if there's a demographic farm that you can, that you want to focus in on Gen Xers, if you have kids, you really need to have some kind of commonality. And I've helped my daughter and son-in-law have friends. I've helped my daughter and son-in-law many times. Y'all, they buy a house and they're in it for a year and a half, and then they want a bigger house. So they think they want this like minimalist lifestyle. They buy a small house, and then a year and a half later, they're like, we got to move. And then a year later, we're having a baby. We got to move. And then a year or 2 years later, oh, we had another baby. We need to move. If you get in with them, that is what can happen. But you just got to keep farming them. Nikki?
I saw that just happen right here by me. My neighbor moved in less than a year ago. And so when I went door knocking, I was like, well, he's probably not interested because he just moved here. Guess what? He's got a sign for sale on his house.
Yep.
And I guessed myself.
And
I wanted to
kick you. Now you want to kick yourself. And that's the thing. Do not have bias against anybody. So what that's called is you had a little bias because you thought they would be thinking this. Don't assume that that's what they're thinking. Go out and find out what they're thinking. Talk to them.
Exactly. I learned a lesson.
Yeah, that's so important. That's like my daughter. I have two older daughters that the daughter I was just telling you about. Well, the people I was just telling you about was my daughter. So they bought a condo in Midtown, in a high rise in Midtown, and then they're going to have a baby. So they buy a house in Buckhead, a small little cottage in Buckhead, and they have a baby. And less than a year later, they're like, we need to move. And so they move out to Chamblee, to a mid-century modern, small, minimalist house. And then 2 years later, they're like, this house is too small. We need to find a big house. Well, then he gets a job offer in Florida, and they moved to, he got a job offer in May. They moved to Florida, and I did get a referral fee for this. They moved to Florida, and they've been in that house since July. She's here at our house, and she said, hey, we just found out that they're building a new school for our neighborhood, and we're going to be rezoned into that school. And that's too far for us to go. Their child is 3 years old. She doesn't start kindergarten for another 2 years, but it's already in her head that we got to go that way. Is Pearson awake? One of the babies is awake. So we have a 3-year-old and 3-year-old granddaughter and 2 15-month-old. They're not twins, boys, grandsons here this week. But, it is like they move, they job hop, and they house hop. And you got to get in with them. And so I have them, and then I have their friends, who I've made contacts and built relationships with. But if you get in with them and build relationships, it's amazing how much money we've made off of our child moving. So, and she moved to Ponte Vedra Beach. I got her a Keller Williams agent down there. And what's funny is my son-in-law has now gotten a job offer. He's been in this job since June. They moved in July. They moved there because that's where his office was. He's never been into the office, not once. And when they got here the other night, I said, has he been into the office at all? And she said, no. He had gotten a job offer for somebody else. And they don't think, companies don't think anything of it. They don't think, oh, you're not staying here. We don't think anything of it when they move out of a house to a bigger house. They're moving up, upward mobility. That's what they're all about. And you need to get in on it and create that relationship. So that's a demographic, psychographic overlay of circles. Anybody got any questions? Okay. Did any of y'all have a chance to look at this workbook before?
I don't think I got a workbook.
Oh, you didn't get well, you should have gotten you should have gotten the handbook for this class.
I didn't even sign up. I just joined when I got the text.
Oh, good. Okay, Courtney. Well, thank you.
Same here. I don't have a handbook. I just joined.
Okay, so one of the things that they talked about in the handbook is like farming a luxury market. Now, there's an agent in our office named Peggy Connor who she lives at the Country Club of the South. She's been there for lived there for 20 years. She's probably been an agent in our office 5 years. She kills it in the luxury market because she lives here. She's built these relationships with people. And most of her listings are over $1 million. I remember several years ago taking a $1.4 million listing and thinking, I wanted it. It was a fabulous house, but they weren't realistic. They wouldn't listen to me. It really needed to be at 1.25. And I had the listing for 6 months. It expired. We had somebody that was interested in it, and her house had gone under contract, and then it fell off. It was terminated, so she couldn't buy it. So in that time period, between the time that I lost the listing and expired, and then it went to somebody else, this other person got her house under contract. And they sold their house right after they relisted with somebody else. It killed me. It killed me. But what killed me more was that I allowed myself to take a $1.4 million overpriced listing for 6 months when I could have sold 4 $400,000 listings in less time than a $1.4 overpriced $1 million listing. Does that make sense? So the luxury market is fabulous when they sell. If you want to get into the luxury market, you got to build those relationships. Right now, those $1 million listings are flying off the shelves. They really are. But I am such a realistic person that I want to help 4 people sell a $400,000 house and 1 person sell a $1.3 thousand house, or even 3 people sell a $400,000 house. I love those $250,000 to $400,000 listings. Those are money makers. So that's where I would focus on, like your let's just say 2 to 400,000. At the 200,000, you're going to be working, twice as much than a 400, but to do, 200 to do 400, but they sell. If they're priced right, they are going to sell in 6 days. You just have to go out and find those people. Any questions while I'm flipping to the next? Okay, so another myth. I don't have the money to lead generate. The truth is, lead generation doesn't have to cost you money. Y'all, those, in our team meetings, those little, you can do them in command, and it says the market activity, like how many listings, how many are under contract in the last 7 days. This many listings went active. This many went under contract. This many closed. You don't even have to put the closed in there. You can take it out. You can text those pieces of information to your contacts and let say, hey, this market is phenomenal. Are you thinking of buying or selling a house? Selling a house or buying up. The market is, strong right now. That doesn't cost anything, and you can do it in command, and it looks fabulous. Or you can just steal the one that Aubrey does and puts on the, you can take the one off of the email that Melody sends out each week, like on Monday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She'll always have that little piece of information down at the bottom. Screenshot it. That's what we do here at Keller Williams. We rip off and duplicate. It's not research and design, it's rip off and duplicate. And we love people taking that information and sharing it with everybody, because as Keller Williams agents, when we help people grow, when we help their business grow, our business grows. So take that, if you see a little bit of information that an agent in the office that you follow on Instagram or Facebook has shared, send that agent a text message and say, hey, this is fabulous information. May I borrow it? And I promise you, almost every single time, I've never had anybody tell me no. But they're gonna say, yes, please share it. Because if we're growing our office and growing our profit, it comes back to us in the long run. Our profitability is growing. We're getting more money. So that's the thing about Keller Williams. Rip off and duplicate. So take that and use that information. It doesn't cost anything. Aubrey's done it for you. So use it. Lead generation doesn't have to cost money. You've got to establish your reputation. Even if you haven't sold a house, you've got to establish your reputation by letting people know you, letting people like you, and letting people know that the information they're providing you is good information, that they can trust where this is coming from. And if it's coming from Aubrey Bailey, you can, you can trust it. So use that information, share it with people. They're going to learn to trust you, and they're going to reach out. They're going to start reaching out to you. Okay. Work smarter, not harder. So I was going to read this agent is so funny because she uses the term bird dogging. So what she did was pretty much she establishes her reputation in her little farm, and it can be 3 streets in a certain neighborhood, or it can be a whole neighborhood. But she established her reputation and her relationships with people so that when anybody heard of somebody coming, thinking about selling their house and buying another one, or if they're moving to another state or whatever, she called these people her bird dogs. They were calling her saying, hey, you need to call this person. Here's their number. I've told them about you. You need some bird dogs in your life. They're the ones who are going to hear about it and sniff out information, and they're going to be sending you business. So it's important to establish those relationships with people. When I was talking to y'all about the agent earlier in my neighborhood who worked for the builder for years, I think she's fabulous. I love her. She really rubs some people wrong because in their eyes, they see her billboards, as braggadocious. Well, that can work to your benefit. But I have this client who I was leaving a listing one day. It was a vacant listing, and I just went over to check on it to make sure everything was okay. Vacant listings kind of concern me sometimes because something could happen and nobody knows about it. So I was leaving this vacant listing, and y'all, when somebody calls you, answer your phone. Always answer your phone. Hello, this is Courtney. Hello, this is Scott. Hello, this is Sarah. Always answer your phone. If it's somebody trying to sell you something and you don't want to talk to them, hang up. It's okay. But answer your phone. Unknown numbers are lots of times $10,000 calling you. They really are. So I answer my phone. Hello, this is Kathy. And Megan goes, Kathy, this is Megan, blah, blah, blah. I live in Woodmont on this, this street. And I want to talk to you about listing my house. And I said, okay, that's fabulous. So she just starts spilling her guts about She had been working with this agent, the billboard agent who owns my neighborhood. She had been working with her, and they had looked at a couple of houses. They were getting ready to list a house, but a house right down the street from her came on the market. And this billboard agent would not list that house, would not list Megan's house until that other house went under contract. That's not good for Megan. So I went and met with her, listed her house. But she said, you answered the phone and you made me feel important. You made me feel like selling my house was one of the most important things that you needed to do right now. And the other agent, the big billboard agent, it was not important to her because she needed to get that other house under contract because Megan's house was much more fabulous than the other house that was under contract. So that's another thing. When you're farming a neighborhood and you have 10 listings in that neighborhood, somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. You know, if you have 10 listings at a time in that neighborhood, that's what happens a lot of times. If you are the owner of the neighborhood, people are going to get their feelings hurt because somebody else's house went under contract before yours. I won't have a house on my street. I won't list 2 houses at the same time. I just won't. But luckily, there's not that many people that move off our street. Only one time in the almost 15 years have I had a listing on this street, and the next door neighbor to that listing said, hey, we want to talk to you about selling our house. And luckily, it was a relocation company, and they weren't going to go with Keller Williams. They went with Berkshire Hathaway. They went with the billboard agent. That's who they went with. So, but you've got to make those people feel important. Any questions? What, Carrie? Am I talking too loud? Okay. Another thing is be where your customers are. Like lots of times in neighborhoods, at clubhouses, the clubhouse, the restaurant, like in our neighborhood, there's a restaurant up at the clubhouse. It is a public restaurant. You don't have to live in the neighborhood or be a member up at the golf course to eat in that clubhouse. So if there's a neighborhood that you focus on and they have a public restaurant, go hang out in the restaurant. You can't hang out at the pool, but you can hang out in the restaurant and meet people. Be where your customers are. Like if you're, what we were talking about earlier, if your kid's on a sports team and you're a part of the booster club, go to all of those games. You know, if they get together afterwards, and we did this all the time when our kids were growing up, after a lacrosse game, we'd have to go to Taco Mac or whatever, or a burger place. And that gave you the opportunity to interact with those people. So just be where your people are. Be where your clients, your future clients are. Meet them. Get to know them. You don't even have to talk about, the first time you meet somebody in a situation like that, you don't have to talk about real estate. Find out their names, find out what road they live on, fast people search, or as Scott said, forewarn. You can find out so much stuff about that. When I'm doing an open house, I never ask anybody to sign in and give me emails or phone numbers or anything like that. I ask them what their name is and where they live right now. And then when they walk away, I text to my own self. I'll text Scott Taylor, Roswell, Georgia, and send it to myself. And then I go to Fast People Search and I find him. I'll like, what high school district do you live in? Then if that's the Scott Taylor you're looking for. So you can find out, being an agent is like being a secret agent, a spy. You got to find out the information. You're finding out what their homes are worth. You can dig a little deeper and find out so much information on them. It's crazy how much the internet knows about us. It really is. So, okay. Any questions?
For some of them, you go to LinkedIn and Facebook, you find out more about them than you ever should know before you talk to them. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and it's really easy to snoop, and sometimes it can keep you out of a bad situation.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
can get you into a good one. But I mean, you find out where they went to college. You didn't know that. All of a sudden, oh yeah, you bring it up. Oh, just out of the blue, as if you didn't know it. And you know, you open an avenue with some folks that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Yeah,
Because you didn't know.
I think Michael is the only one. I'm trying to pull my foot up in my chair. I think Michael is the only one who was on here yesterday, and we were talking about Facebook, like what you can find out about people on Facebook, your mutual friends. Like when you go search for somebody and then you click on their mutual friends, and you probably grew up with somebody who is their friend. Like, how do you know? How do you know each other? It is fabulous. Finding out those commonalities in people, and that is important. When you know somebody that person you're trying to get to know knows, and you have that mutual relationship, that's huge to people. It really is. And you can use that. So, and it's funny how you can find people in the same neighborhood who don't know each other, that they live there, but they're friends. I've done that many times. Found, oh, do you know Ann Taylor who lives over da-da-da? No, I know Ann Taylor. She was a sorority sister of mine. I didn't know she lived in this neighborhood, but they're friends on Facebook. They don't even know, depending on the size of the neighborhood. It really is when you make that connection with people, whether it's farming or just with your Mets, your contacts, it's a huge thing. So build on that. You got to build your trust, and you got to build recognition. And so by being in the neighborhood and letting people, even if it's just focusing on 3 streets at a time, and then grow, like focus on, depending on the size, the length of the street, focus on certain streets and then grow from there. That will help you. It will help you with your time management of that neighborhood, and it will help you with your if you're investing any financial resources in those people. Okay, so it's talking about right here on page 53. We're getting near the end, and it's talking about working towards higher goals. I'm not going to get into that because y'all are mostly all new agents except Michael and Sue. But everybody else is a newer agent, correct? So my best advice to y'all is find somebody people in a neighborhood, people at church or in a booster club, or or somebody who has commonalities with you, whatever they do. The people that I farm are my people. So you can farm demographically, geographically, psychographically, and then there's your people, your contacts. I farm my contacts, and until I was asked to teach this class back in December, I didn't realize that I was farming my contacts. That's what I do. And so yesterday when we were talking about working with Mets, with your contacts, that's what I do. And when they had asked me to teach farming, I said, I don't farm. And I can't remember who on the leadership team said, yes, you do. Go prepare for the class. You farm. I do. I farm my people. And yes, they can live on my street or the other 2 streets in my neighborhood, or they're part of a lacrosse moms group. Our sons played lacrosse together, or they're part of a cheer group. Our daughters cheered together, or they're part of church, or they're people that went to high school, college with me, college with my sisters. It's really amazing the people, and you limit yourself when you're a brand new agent, you limit yourself into people you know. You know so many more people than you think you know. And, you know, write them down. Like if you drive through a Starbucks and, you know, you establish this relationship, you know, write that person down, add them to your Facebook. Not your Facebook. God, I sounded like Joe Biden. Play the record player, play the television. I'm sorry. Don't add them to your Facebook. Add them to Command. Add these people to Command. Feed your database. You keep feeding your database, and it's going to feed you. The financial rewards will be very great. And that's just so important. So, anybody got any questions?
I'm curious to know how was that text worded that the agent sent you. Did they introduce themselves, or they just go into asking how much you wanted for your house?
Oh, hold on, I'll get it. So they probably got in Remine. Well, hold on, let me search for it. Oh, okay, so they just said, "Hi, Kathy. My contract company is currently acquiring new properties. Interested in selling 922 Ravenwood Way? We can close immediately." And I said, so I fired back at them, "I'll sell it to you for $535,000. So what they had done was they had gotten in probably Remine, because my husband pulled it up a couple of days ago and said, "Hey, this is what," it was like $509,000. That was the price on it. And then it was like what we owed on it. So they're probably thinking, you know, they're going to get our house for $300,000 or something like that. But I said, I just sold a house down the street with an unfinished basement, you know, this, and it closed for this amount of money. Because we have an unfinished basement, we will sell it to you for $535,000. We have a finished basement. We will sell it for $535,000. No response. So, you know what? I mean, that's what Aubrey was talking about in the team meeting the other day. Somebody sending out a text saying, "Hey, we have buyers that want to buy. Are you interested in selling your house?" People will respond to that. Some people will say, "Heck no, how'd you get my name? Why do you think you can buy my," you know? But I can play the, you know, I do that. I call people. I call people all the time. I have a buyer who wants to be in a certain 2 neighborhoods inside the perimeter. I call those people all the time. I look at Remine. I know what their house is worth. I know how long they've been there. And, you know, some people, like recently, back in November, a week before Thanksgiving, I called. I said, "Hey, I have a buyer that wants to be in your neighborhood. Are you thinking about selling your house anytime soon?" They've been there since 1981. She goes, "Oh my gosh, we have been thinking about it. Our daughter and her husband just moved to Ponte Vedra Beach in August and took our 2 grandchildren, and we're thinking of moving down there." And it was like, holy cow. My daughter and her husband and 2 grandchildren just moved from Chamblee to Ponte Vedra Beach in July. You know, so I made that connection with her. We had a commonality. Our children moved and took our grandchildren 6.5 hours away. And she said, "You know, we have been thinking about it." And she said, "Call me back after Thanksgiving." I stuck a handwritten note in the mail to her that day. She said, "Call me back after Thanksgiving." I called her back on Wednesday night after Thanksgiving. She said, "Well, we went to Ponte Vedra and bought a house this past weekend." And I said, "You did?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "So you're ready to sell your house?" And she said, "Yeah, we've talked with our agent." Like, "Grr." So anyway, she said, "But we told her about you, and you know, we'll show it to you." So I fire up an authorization to show unlisted property, send it over to her, meet my client there in an hour and a half. And it didn't work. But, you know, that's how a lot of times you'll find people calling Cole Realty, Remine, finding those people who want to sell their house. And you know what? You don't have to have a buyer. You can just say the Atlanta real estate market is phenomenal right now. And we have buyers who want to, there are buyers who want to be in your neighborhood. Start, if you know, pick a neighborhood, start farming it that way. Call people, build relationships with them. Call somebody, follow it up with a handwritten note immediately. And that's one way to start, you know, farming a neighborhood. Pick the neighborhood you want. Go in there and look at people who've been there 7 to 10 years or more. They're probably going to want to move. So it works. Last March, no, it was February because we closed on it in April. I had a buyer who told me a neighborhood she wanted to be in. She wanted a brick ranch house with a pool in the polo fields in Cumming. So I get on FMLS and I look for ranch homes that sold in the last 7 to 10 years. I called 5 of them. Well, I sent her all these listings that I had. I sent the listings to her and I said, which ones do you like? There were 5. I called 5 people, spoke to 2. She bought 1. And, you know, I made my buyer was very impressed with me that I went out and found her what she wanted, an off-market listing. And we didn't have to deal with lots of people putting offers on it. So it works. Just call people. And if there's, you know, do y'all have my number? Nikki, you have my number, don't you? My number is, put this in your phone and call me if you need something like that. Or this is the best thing, text me, because I won't always be able to answer. And sometimes I don't see a voicemail or hear a voicemail, but I always see a text. 678-602-1584. Oh, a 22-year-old is a Generation Z. Thank you very much, Michael.
You're welcome.
I don't know.
It's all right. It's all good. I just X, Y, Z, ABC.
That's funny. And Sarah is the HOA president of her neighborhood. Welford Trace? I don't know Welford Trace. How do I not know that? That's funny. Yeah, so y'all call me if you need, you know, if you have any questions. I love to help people. So, okay, Melody, I guess we're wrapping up. Melody.
Well, I guess we're wrapping up. I want somebody just to wave at you guys. Don't leave yet. Come around, Andy. I got Andy Peters, guys, in the house.
Andy Peters. Andy Peters.
Guys.
Hey, Andy.
Performing today.
Andy.
Hey, Andy, what's up?
How are you guys?
I'm
Good,
sorry.
man. How are you?
Good. Michael, you were just trashing your office. We were just, we were there and just trashed it.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry I missed your mindset and market share today. I was crazy. Had a new listing hit the market this morning. It has just been a crazy day.
Well,
so awesome. I'm going to look forward to watching that. It was recorded, wasn't it?
It was. It should be.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you for appearing here.
Oh yeah, it's good to see you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Kathy.
Wait, did I give you my number?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, y'all.
If you don't have it, I have it.
Okay, y'all.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.